Logline. When a seemingly minor customer service nightmare escalates into a humiliating public attack, a meticulous 51-year-old procurement manager unleashes a campaign of perfectly legal, devastatingly creative revenge against a trendy online homeware giant, proving that hell hath no fury like a menopausal woman scorned and underestimated. The opening plunges the reader directly into the inciting incident with visceral frustration. The scream tore from Margo Stone's throat before she could stop it, raw and ragged, echoing off the tasteful faro ball, setting plaster walls of her home office. It wasn't directed at anyone in particular, certainly not at the sleek, unresponsive laptop screen displaying the infuriatingly cheerful chat window of GlamourHome. Commerce. The chipper avatar, a cartoon woman named Brie, holding a potted succulent, blinked obliviously. Margot's scream was pure, unadulterated fury aimed at the universe, at the sheer soul-crushing incompetence currently masquerading as customer service. Brie? The chat log scrolled back, time-stamped 5 minutes ago. I understand you're upset about the damaged item. Could you please confirm the order number again? And describe the damage in more detail. Perhaps upload clearer photos? Margot's fingers, usually steady and precise, honed by 25 years of managing complex procurement logistics for a mid-sized tech firm, trembled violently over the keyboard. Clearer photos? She'd sent them 6 times. 6. Each one a high-definition testament to the crime scene on her formerly pristine dining table. The vintage charm Carrara marble coffee table, centerpiece of her carefully curated living room refresh, splurged on for her 51st birthday, hadn't just arrived damaged. It had arrived obliterated. Not a scratch, not a chip, obliterated. As if someone had taken a sledgehammer to one corner during a particularly bad Monday. The delicate gold leaf edging hung like sad metallic tinsel. The beautiful veining of the faux marble was interrupted by a jagged, heart-stopping crack that ran diagonally across the entire top. The packaging? Flimsy cardboard, a single layer of bubble wrap thinner than a politician's promise. It looked like it had been kicked down several flights of stairs, which, given GlamourHome's notoriously opaque logistics partner, Swift Hall, was entirely possible. This wasn't just a table. This was the symbol of Margo finally doing something for herself. After years of prioritizing her son Ben's college fund, her ex-husband Greg's midlife crisis-induced financial fallout, and her demanding job, this table was her reclaiming her space, her style. It was sophisticated, elegant, her. And now it was landfill fodder. She'd started polite, of course. Margo was nothing if not professional. A detailed email with photos, order number, a calm request for a replacement or refund. That was 3 weeks ago. Silence. Follow-up email. More silence. Phone calls led to labyrinthine automated menus. Interminable holds punctuated by teeny Muzak versions of songs she actually liked, adding insult to injury. And finally, if she was lucky, a harried-sounding agent named Kevin or Priya who promised escalation and nothing. Hence the chat. Hence the screaming. Hence the feeling of hot, furious tears pricking behind her eyes. A sensation she despised. Menopause had already gifted her enough unwelcome surprises. Adding customer service-induced weeping felt like a cruel joke. She took a deep, shuddering breath, channeling every ounce of her boardroom composure. You negotiate million-dollar contracts, Margo. You can handle Brie and her goddamn succulent. Margo. Brie. Order GH789234. Photos attached again. Damage. Catastrophic structural failure to the tabletop. Unusable. I require an immediate refund or replacement shipped via a reputable carrier with adequate insurance. This is unacceptable. She hit send. The little dots danced. Margo pictured Bree, sipping lukewarm coffee in a fluorescent-lit cubicle farm, utterly disconnected from the human frustration pulsing through the digital ether. Bree. Thank you for that information, Margo. I've reviewed your case. Unfortunately, our records show the item was marked as delivered in good condition by Swifthaul. To process a refund or replacement, we require a formal damage report signed by the delivery driver. Can you provide that? Margo stared. Signed by the driver? The surly Swifthaul guy had practically tossed the mangled box onto her porch from his idling truck before speeding off. Getting his signature would require chasing him down like a bounty hunter. It was a transparent stalling tactic, a Kafkaesque loop designed to exhaust the customer into surrender. Margo, Bree. The driver did not wait. He did not inspect the package. He certainly did not offer a damage report. This is GlamourHome's responsibility. Your packaging was inadequate. Your carrier negligent. I demand resolution today. Bree. I understand your frustration, Margo. We value you as a customer. However, without the signed damage report, our policy prevents us from authorizing a return for damage sustained in transit. Perhaps you could consider our repair service? We offer a 15% discount for first-time repairs. Margo saw red. Literally. A pulsing crimson haze seemed to cloud her vision. Repair? The thing was shattered. A 15% discount on glue? This wasn't customer service. It was gaslighting. It was corporate warfare waged against the individual, betting on attrition. They bet she'd get tired, give up, eat the 1-200 loss. They bet wrong. A terrifying calm descended over Margo. The hot fury crystallized into something cold, hard, and dangerously focused. The tears vanished. Her hands stopped trembling. A slow, grim smile touched her lips, utterly devoid of warmth. It was the smile of a predator sighting prey. Greg had seen that smile once, right before she dismantled his flimsy excuses during divorce mediation. Ben had seen it when he'd tried to lie about denting her car at 17. Margo, thank you for your help, Bree. I understand GlamourHome's position perfectly. Have a glamorous day. She closed the chat window without waiting for a reply. The cartoon Bree and her succulent vanished. Margo leaned back in her ergonomic chair, steepling her fingers. The shattered table was a monument to corporate indifference. But Margo Stone didn't get mad. Not productively. Margo Stone got even. And her revenge wouldn't be messy or illegal. It would be meticulous. It would be creative. It would be sweet. And it would cost GlamourHome far more than $200. Phase 1. Reconnaissance and rule-bending. The paper cut campaign. Margo became a scholar of GlamourHome. She devoured their terms of service, privacy policy, return policy, every microscopic footnote. She mapped their corporate structure through LinkedIn stalking, identifying key players. Bryce Holloway, the smarmy social media-obsessed CEO, Cynthia Vance, the notoriously inflexible head of customer experience, Darren Peck, the overworked logistics manager. She studied their marketing, all aspirational millennials in impossibly clean homes, bathed in natural light, surrounded by overpriced tchotchkes. She noted their vulnerabilities, an over-reliance on social media buzz, a pathological avoidance of negative publicity, logistics stretched thinner than their cheap bubble wrap. Her first strikes were small, precise, designed to inflict maximum bureaucratic annoyance. Paper cuts. The infinite return loop. She ordered the cheapest item possible, a $4.99 artisanal cork coaster set. She initiated a return immediately upon delivery, undamaged, citing doesn't match website depiction. She meticulously followed the complex return process, printed label, dropped a designated location. The refund appeared. She immediately reordered the exact same item. Repeat, every 3 days. Each cycle cost GlamourHome the shipping, both ways, processing fees, and valuable warehouse labor. Tiny costs individually, but Margo planned to do this 50 times. The paperwork alone would be a nuisance. The customer service echo chamber, using slight variations of her name and email. Margo. Stone, M. Stone 51. Stone, Margo H. She created multiple accounts. For each, she lodged detailed, polite, but ultimately unresolvable queries about obscure product details, conflicting policy points, or hypothetical delivery scenarios. Bree. And her ilk was suddenly drowning in Margo-generated busywork, tying up chat lines and email queues. The subscription sabotage. She signed up for their Glamour Box subscription, a monthly curated box of home essentials, using a prepaid debit card with precisely enough funds for the first month. She then meticulously documented every minor flaw: a slightly chipped mug, a candle with a faint scratch, linen napkins deemed less vibrant than advertised. Each complaint demanded a replacement or partial refund, citing their 100 satisfaction guarantee. Customer service, desperate to appease and avoid negative subscription cancellation metrics, complied, eating the cost of replacements. After 3 months, she cancelled, citing consistent failure to meet quality expectations. The prepaid card ran dry. GlamourHome got nothing but hassle and lost product. It felt good, cathartic even. But it was merely the opening salvo. Margo craved impact. She craved visibility. She craved discomfort. Phase 2. Escalation. The baked goods barrage. Legal annoying. Inspired by a documentary about viral marketing stunts, Margo devised Phase 2. Operation Sugar Rush. It was beautiful in its simplicity and utter legality, relying on GlamourHome's own vanity and public image. She targeted not the overwhelmed warehouse workers or low-level customer service reps, but the shiny public-facing figures. The executives whose polished LinkedIn profiles boasted about customer obsession. Using publicly available corporate headquarters addresses and some clever sleuthing for satellite office locations, Margo unleashed her culinary vengeance. Not poisoned, not harmful, just inconvenient and sticky. Bryce Holloway, CEO. To the sleek glass and steel GlamourHome HQ in downtown San Francisco, Margo dispatched a truly enormous, luridly decorated cake. It depicted a cartoon CEO, bearing an unfortunate resemblance to Bryce, sitting on a throne made of broken furniture, gleefully stomping on tiny, crying customer avatars. The inscription: "Congratulations, Bryce. Won in customer dissatisfaction. Enjoy the sweet taste of ignoring us." It was delivered during a well-publicized investor luncheon in the lobby. Cynthia Vance, head of CX. Cynthia's suburban office received a meticulously crafted piñata. Not just any piñata, shaped like GlamourHome's logo, a stylized, smug-looking armchair, filled not with candy, but with hundreds of printed tiny replicas of Margo's original complaint emails, shredded packing peanuts, and glitter. So much glitter. The accompanying note: "For when you need to beat customer concerns, Cynthia, swing away. P.S. Glitter is the herpes of the craft world. Enjoy." Darren Peck, Logistics Manager. Darren's regional distribution center was treated to 50 boxes of assorted, super sticky pastries, honey buns, jam donuts, syrup-soaked baklava. Each box bore a label: "Fuel for Swift Haul," because swift seems to be relative. P.S. Check your packaging specs. Sincerely, a concerned citizen, and shattered table owner. The pastries arrived mid-shift, causing a minor sugar rush frenzy and a major sticky keyboard epidemic in the logistics office. The cost to Margo? A few $100s in baking and shipping, anonymously arranged naturally. The cost to GlamourHome? Embarrassment. Viral potential. Employees did post pictures of the cake and piñata online before HR could stop them. Hours of cleaning, a pervasive smell of sugar and regret, and a creeping sense that someone was very, very displeased and remarkably creative. Phase 3. Weaponizing her skills, the procurement problem. Margo watched the faint online ripples with satisfaction. A few tech blogs picked up the bizarre cake stunt at GlamourHome HQ, speculating about disgruntled employees. Reddit threads buzzed, but it wasn't enough. She needed systemic pain. She needed to hit them where it really hurt, their bottom line and their carefully curated image. This was where Margo Stone, procurement manager extraordinaire, truly came into her own. Her day job involved finding reliable suppliers, negotiating razor-thin margins, and ensuring seamless supply chains. She knew how fragile those chains could be. She knew how to find suppliers, and she knew how to exploit leverage. Her target, GlamourHome's best-selling, highest-margin items, their exclusive line of Scandi Chic woven storage baskets, and their Desert Bloom ceramic vases. These items were constantly sold out, perpetually on waitlist and key drivers of their social media hype. Margo discovered, through deep dives into import records and supplier databases, skills honed over decades, that both lines were sourced from the same small, family-owned factory in Portugal, Olaria Moderna. Margo didn't sabotage the factory. That was crude and illegal. Instead, she became their best friend. Using a discreet intermediary and a newly created LLC, Stonehaven Imports, she contacted the owner, Senor Eduardo Silva. She spoke fluent Portuguese, another professional asset, flattered his craftsmanship, expressed deep admiration, and offered him a deal. Senor Silva, she purred over a crystal-clear VoIP line. Your work is exceptional. Truly. GlamourHome is fortunate. But are they paying you what you're truly worth? I represent a consortium of high-end boutique retailers in the U.S. We value quality, ethical sourcing, and fair compensation. We're prepared to offer you a 25 premium on your current GlamourHome rates for exclusive access to 60 of your Scandi Chic and Desert Bloom production capacity for the next 18 months. We understand exclusivity clauses naturally. We'll handle any contractual nuances. It was a masterstroke. Margo, Eleanor Vance from Stonehaven Imports, wasn't asking him to breach his contract with GlamourHome, just to prioritize her new, significantly more lucrative orders. The 25 premium was real money, funded by Margo's healthy savings and the sheer vindictive joy of spending it this way. Senor Silva, weary of GlamourHome's constant pressure to lower prices and its delayed payments, was cautiously intrigued. Negotiations began. Simultaneously, Margo launched a parallel attack on GlamourHome's reputation, disguised as helpful consumer advocacy. She created a sleek anonymous blog, The Glamourless Home, shining a light on shady practices. Using meticulously gathered evidence, screenshots of her chat logs with Brie, photos of her destroyed table alongside the pathetic packaging, recordings of her endless hold times, carefully edited to remove her own outbursts, shipping tracking showing absurd routes taken by Swift Haul, and even anonymous testimonials gathered from disgruntled customers on niche forums. She painted a devastating picture. The blog wasn't hysterical. It was forensic. It documented broken promises, misleading marketing, and the human cost of corporate apathy. She optimized it ruthlessly for search engines. GlamourHome complaint, GlamourHome damaged item, GlamourHome customer service nightmare. Soon, her blog topped the results. She seeded links strategically on social media, Reddit threads, and even relevant Pinterest boards about home decor woes. The squeeze and the spark. The effects weren't immediate, but they were tectonic. First, customer service complaints skyrocketed, fueled by the visibility of Margo's blog. People felt empowered. They linked to it in their own complaints. Brie and her colleagues drowned. Then the supply chain tremor hit. GlamourHome's quarterly order for Scandishik baskets and dessert bloom vases arrived at Olaria Moderna. Senor Silva, deep in negotiations with the generous Stonehaven Imports, politely informed them he could only fulfill 40 of the order due to unexpected capacity constraints. Panic erupted at GlamourHome HQ. These were flagship products. Waitlists ballooned. Social media, once filled with aspirational photos, began filling with frustrated comments. Where are my baskets? GlamourHome fail. Desert bloom wilted. Cynthia Vance's team was overwhelmed. Bryce Holloway's carefully cultivated visionary leader image started to crack under investor questions about fulfillment issues and rising customer dissatisfaction metrics visible on review aggregators. Darren Peck was screaming at Swifthall, who blamed weather, labor shortages, and cosmic alignment. Margo watched it all unfold from her home office, sipping chamomile tea beside the still shattered table, now covered with her strategic maps and notes. It was deeply satisfying, but it wasn't personal enough yet. They hadn't connected the dots back to her specific grievance. They hadn't felt the humiliation she'd felt screaming into the void at Brie. Then GlamourHome made their fatal mistake. In a desperate bid to control the narrative, Bryce Holloway gave an interview to a trendy business podcast, The Hustle Blueprint. He was charming, dismissive. "Look," he said with practiced ease, "scaling a customer-centric brand is challenging. We're experiencing some temporary fulfillment hiccups. Sure, growing pains. And yeah, occasionally a product might get dinged in transit. That's logistics. We have robust processes to handle it. What we won't tolerate are bad faith actors, serial complainers trying to game the system. Or, well, frankly, unhinged individuals sending bizarre pastries." He chuckled, a sound like pebbles rattling in a tin can. "It's just stuff, people. Let's keep perspective. Buy less, choose well, make it last, right?" He quoted some obscure design philosopher, utterly misappropriating the sentiment. Unhinged, serial complainer, bad faith actor. He was talking about her, Margo Stone, the woman whose 200th birthday splurge lay in ruins because of their negligence, whose polite requests for resolution were met with bureaucratic brick walls, the woman who had meticulously documented their failings and orchestrated their current discomfort. Rage, colder and sharper than ever, flooded her veins. Perspective? She'd show him perspective. Phase 4, the grand finale. Tablegate. Margot's final move was pure calculated theater. It required capital, coordination, and a dash of absurdity. She hired a local artist known for quirky installations. She rented a flatbed truck. She meticulously documented every step. The shattered Carrara marble tabletop? It wasn't trash anymore. It was the centerpiece. The artist carefully mounted it onto a sturdy, rotating platform. Around it, they built a stunning, ironic diorama. Miniature, perfect replicas of GlamourHome's most popular items, the Skandichik baskets, empty, the desert bloom vases, cracked, tiny art prints askew. It was titled with brutal simplicity, The GlamourHome Experience, Delivered. But Margo didn't stop there. Beside the diorama stood a large, high-definition monitor. On loop, it played two things. 1. A slideshow of her original complaint photos, the destroyed table, the flimsy packaging. 2. A scrolling, endless feed of the most egregious complaints harvested anonymously from her blog and social media. Photos of moldy cushions, chairs collapsing, deliveries lost for weeks, screenshots of infuriating chat logs identical to hers. The pièce de résistance? The entire installation was powered by a small, whirring generator, and mounted prominently on the flatbed was a sign in the exact same sleek font as GlamourHome's logo. This exhibit powered by your 1-200 refund, still pending. Tablegate GlamourHome Reality. Where is Brie? She didn't park it outside GlamourHome HQ. That was predictable. She parked it with permits secured thanks to a surprisingly sympathetic local councilwoman who'd had her own online shopping nightmare directly outside the venue of the biggest home decor expo on the West Coast, where Bryce Holloway was scheduled to give a keynote speech about the future of joyful home commerce. The effect was electric. As influencers, buyers, and industry insiders arrived, they were greeted by the mesmerizing, horrifying spectacle of Margot's shattered table monument. Phones came out instantly. The hashtag Tablegate exploded. The scrolling feed of customer misery was damning, undeniable. People recognized their own struggles. The diorama was darkly hilarious and deeply relatable. News crews already there to cover the expo swarmed the truck. The story wasn't the expo anymore. It was the spectacle outside. Inside, Bryce Holloway's pre-speech smile froze as aides whispered frantically in his ear. His face drained of color. He tried to brazen it out on stage, but his voice lacked its usual smug confidence. Questions from the audience were brutal. How do you respond to Tablegate, Bryce? Is this the joyful home commerce you envision? Where is Brie? The video of him stammering went viral. Tablegate trended nationally. GlamourHome's social media channels were inundated. Review sites were flooded. The blog traffic crashed its server, a happy accident Margo hadn't even planned for. The sweetness of surrender, not hers. The capitulation came not with a bang, but with a ringing doorbell 2 days later. Margo answered, dressed not in her usual work blazer, but in comfortable jeans and a soft sweater, a picture of calm domesticity. Standing on her porch wasn't a low-level flunky or a process server. It was Cynthia Vance herself, head of customer experience, looking like she hadn't slept in a week, clutching an oversized envelope. Beside her stood a nervous-looking young man with a tablet. Miss Stone? Cynthia's voice was strained, devoid of its usual robotic cheer. Margo Stone? That's me, Margo said pleasantly, leaning against the doorframe. Can I help you? Are you selling something? I'm rather particular about my vendors these days. Cynthia flinched. Ms. Stone, GlamourHome would like to resolve your situation permanently. Margo raised an eyebrow. My situation? You mean the Young 200 table your company destroyed and then refused to take responsibility for? The one that started this whole situation? She gestured vaguely towards the world outside, knowing Cynthia would understand the reference to the media firestorm. Yes, Cynthia swallowed. That situation. We are prepared to offer a full refund immediately. She held out the envelope. Certified check, plus a significant goodwill gesture for your trouble. She named a figure that made Margo blink. It was 5 times the table's cost. And, Cynthia added quickly, we will be reviewing our packaging standards, carrier contracts, and entire customer service protocols. She sounded like she was reciting lines forced upon her. Margo took the envelope, not opening it. She looked past Cynthia to the young man. "And you are?" "Ben Carter, Miss Stone, legal." He tapped his tablet. "We also have a mutual non-disparagement agreement prepared. Standard procedure once a complaint is resolved to mutual satisfaction." He offered the tablet. Margo didn't touch it. She smiled, the same cold, predatory smile that had started this journey. "Mutual satisfaction? Oh, I'm far from satisfied, Mr. Carter. My table is still shattered. My faith in ethical commerce, also shattered. And that blog? The Glamourless Home? It belongs to the people now. I don't control it." This was a bluff, but a good one. She'd set up an anonymous moderator team from her most vocal blog supporters. "I'll take the refund and the goodwill gesture." She tapped the envelope. "Consider it compensation for my time, creativity, and the considerable stress you've caused. But the blog stays. The story is out there. Consider it." Free market research. Cynthia paled further. "Miss Stone, the agreement?" "Is non-negotiable on that point," Margo stated calmly. "You fix your company. Truly fix it. Prove you've changed. Maybe then the online chatter will die down. Or maybe not. That's up to the customers you've wronged, not me." She looked Cynthia directly in the eye. Was it worth it? The stalling, the lies, the gaslighting, all to avoid 1-200? Cynthia Vance, head of customer experience, looked down at her expensive shoes, saying nothing. The silence was answer enough. Margo held out her hand for the pen Ben Carter nervously produced. She signed only the receipt for the check and the goodwill payment, ignoring the non-disparagement agreement on the tablet. "Have a glamorous day, Cynthia," she said, echoing her final words to Bree. Then she gently closed the door. She leaned against it, the cool wood solid against her back. The envelope felt heavy in her hand. She didn't immediately open it. The victory wasn't in the money. It was in the utter collapse of their facade. It was in the public acknowledgement. It was in Cynthia Vance standing on her porch defeated. It was in knowing she'd fought a Goliath with nothing but her wits, her rage, and a meticulously planned campaign of perfectly legal annoyance. And won. She walked back to her home office. The shattered table still sat there. A monument. But it looked different now. It wasn't a symbol of defeat. It was a trophy. A 1-200 trophy, plus a hefty bonus paid for by GlamourHome itself. She ran a hand over the cold, cracked marble. "Sweet," she murmured, a genuine smile finally reaching her eyes. Definitely sweet. Later that day, she transferred the goodwill gesture money to Ben's graduate school fund. The refund check went towards commissioning a stunning solid oak table from a local artisan, one who delivered it personally, wrapped in more padding than a royal mattress. As Margo sat at her beautiful, sturdy new table, sipping her evening tea, her phone buzzed. It was Ben, calling via video chat. His face filled the screen, grinning but with a slightly worried look. "Mom, holy crap. Did you see the news? That whole Tablegate thing with GlamourHome? It's everywhere. Some anonymous customer totally destroyed them. It's epic." He paused, studying her serene expression. "Mom, you look weirdly pleased. You didn't. I mean, you hate GlamourHome since that table thing, but you wouldn't." Margo took a slow sip of tea, her eyes twinkling with a secret amusement far more satisfying than any scream. "Ben, darling," she said, her voice smooth as the oak grain beneath her fingers. "What on earth makes you think I'd have the time for something like that? Now tell me about your day. And how's Chloe? Did she ever get that refund from that dodgy online boutique she used?" She leaned forward slightly, her smile deepening. "You know, I've learned a thing or two lately about dealing with difficult retailers. The end.